So some of you out there might be a little bit surprised. I haven't done one of these in quite a while, but I feel a very urgent need, given world events of late and things that media is putting out there. And today I'd like to offer for your consideration this whole Kavenaugh circus. Not only is this thing about it's about a great many of things, firstly. Secondly, I feel a lot of it is motivated by an echo chamber environment. Now, what do I mean by that? Most people know that there has been recent moves by social media in order to silence certain voices. Now, not only is this an issue because it is uh, representative of a freedom of speech issue, it is also important because of this echo chamber that I've suggested. Now, in life before the internet, we had telephones, we went places, most of our contact with people had a tendency to be face to face and in person. Okay. Of course, with the advent of the internet and social media platforms, uh, people are now virtually global. It is very easy anymore, or had been up until this recent censorship issue, for people to put out their ideas, share them with people, and get people to consider the thoughts, get people to consider uh, their view. Echo chamber is applied to prior to uh, technology would be like most of your friends, you have very similar opinions and views. Now, you may not completely and totally line up on every point, but typically, most people associate with other people that most closely hold their same views and opinions. And that's just the way it works. It's human nature, psychology. Of course, now with that, you have the internet, social media platforms, and it's a much easier means for people to discuss, talk about ideas, etc. Now, the problem is when you have a balanced media and news is really news, and you're given opposing views, as a person at that point in time, you have the ability to weigh those views and what seems most credible to you. And through that, intelligent people will usually come to a more realistic conclusion because of opposing views. Okay? It gives us more things to consider. It gives us more evidence to base our ideologies, our beliefs upon. Now we have social media platforms that basically wind up censoring different opposing views. And right now, it really does appear to be that much of media, especially places like Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, seem to be very left leaning. And they seem to want to remove any view and any voice that goes against that left leaning. This is a disservice to everyone, not just the ones being censored on the right, but to the ones on the left that might lack additional evidence that might change our opinion. And we rely on this as human beings daily in order to make decisions, trying to obtain as much evidence that we can find in order to support our choice. The idea of being informed. And this was what our forefathers intended. They intended news, real news, which does not exist anymore today, to inform the people. It was line out all the pros, line out all the cons, let the people, through their own intelligence, make their decisions. And in my personal view, I see far too many stations. I mean, CNN is a laughingstock. Almost everything that CNN puts out has a very hard left-leaning bias. Fox News, that goes to the right. But here's the thing. Shutting ourselves off from the opposing views is what is creating that echo chamber. And then falsely people begin to think that they fit in, that they're a part of the majority, because everything they hear, if it's from CNN left, it's left-leaning. And if you're a left-leaning person, you don't hear anything else. The same is true for Fox and the right. Again, not much opposing view. And this is the danger. So now you have a false sense for both groups, where those listening to CNN and left-leaning news think that they are a majority because that's all they hear. And then the same thing with the right and Fox. And this is very evident, and it's very noticeable with this whole Kavenaugh circus. You had different outlets that were coming out. Now, our nation, for those that seem to forget or don't remember a couple things. Firstly, the Supreme Court of the United States is a panel of people, all right? It's not just one judge. And there is a voting process by which the final decisions are made, okay? This idea of perfection and imperfect people, it astounds me, okay? There was so much about supposed impropriety on Kavanaugh's part. And to be fair, what both sides missed was his stances on different parts of our Constitution, specific titles within it, where, yes, he may have a little bit more of a support for further government intrusion, which, of course, depending on who's in government, it's not a good thing. When you have an altruistic, honest government and people that are in it for the people, it's one thing. All too often we've seen throughout history that does not wind up being the case. It remains to be seen what the results of this will be. So everything on the left was boiled down to character assassination, false allegation, which has been proven to be false allegation, and the unhinged that the media continually draws your attention to make it appear like that is the majority. That's what media does today. It's no longer about the pros and the cons and let you make up your own mind. It is about public opinion. They have become partisan, just about every one of them. So, along with all this, we also see where different ones, in particular, if you've been following things, you know about Linda Sarsour. What you may or may not know about her, if you dug into her, has definite ties to George Soros. And if you don't know about him, you really ought to dig into it. A lot of this that's going on is a culmination of communist schools for America. And it is social engineering with a cultural Marxist blueprint. Now, the left will suggest that, all people need to be protected. The right will suggest, well, to do that, then let's make them self-sufficient. The left seems to think everything should just be a handout. The right, again, suggests, okay, if we're going to make sure that people are cared for and taken care of, then again, why don't we make them self-sufficient so they can do just that? The left fails to understand is the right is upset about who winds up paying for things when everything's a handout. Not to mention, there are far too many that seem to have a lacking knowledge of the history of things like communism and socialism. Bolshevik uprising in Russia. The Democrats are the ones that invited Linda Sarsour. Everything in that is coming out suggests it was nothing but a character and political hit. We have to be careful. Just because we see it on TV doesn't mean it's factual. I have another video I did on poll data. It's the same thing. It's basically the media's continued cherry picking to support their political ideology concerning society and world events. And if you pay attention, we've seen numerous examples how, there's a school shooting and the media goes full tilt about the school shooting and never bothers to report any of the other instances where legally armed, law-abiding citizens have in cases prevented murdering. It's always that push towards the left. Now, we're starting to have a push back towards the right. If you really want to know, honestly, really want to know what the majority is, my suggestion to you, get your butt out the door, talk to people. And that doesn't mean just, your neighbors that you may or may not know, or just your friends. It means talk to strangers. Ask about things. Because you're going to get a more accurate representation of majority through that than you will from the cherry picking of supposed news outlets. On that, to the people out there that are honestly trying to fight to return control to us, the people, where it belongs, understand people like Soros and the vast money and power they have, the people that they're able to employ. We can no longer look at social media and comments as an adequate representation of reality, because there are far too many non-governmental agencies, special interest groups that will directly pay people just to go out and speak positive about this thing, that topic. It exists. So just because you read it doesn't mean it is a genuine comment. It could very well be from somebody that was paid to say it. Be vigilant. And for the unhinged left right now, it's threatening violence because they think through that echo chamber that they are the majority. There's quite a few million, billion lawful gun owners in this country. And I would suggest to you that you really need to be careful who you think you want to bully, scream down, throw ice in their face, etc. Because, for one, that is not civilized. Civilized is a conversation. It is listening to opposing view. It is offering your own rebuttals and acting like adults. Not screaming people down. Not denying people platforms, because all you are doing through that is creating a subtle, rumbling hatred that the true majority, which is typically silent, by the way, is eventually going to unleash on you. It's not a good thing. It's not good for those that can't critically think. It's not good for those that act based on emotion. It's not good for the left. It's not good for the right. It's not good for America, nor Americans. You do not, as an adult, throw temper tantrums because you don't hear what you want to hear. You do not, as an adult, get to assault people because you don't like what they say. Time to grow up. I don't support violence on either side. Never will. But rest assured, I have somebody come at me unhinged, I'm going to defend myself. Whether that is through conversation at first, whether that is direct defense, should it push on. At the end of the day, you make me feel like my life is in danger. You make me feel like I have no recourse but to attempt to walk away, and you prevent me. You're probably going to get shoved out of my way. And if you're threatening my life, I will do what I need to do in order to make sure that me and mine survive. So, to the ones on the extreme on either side, you really, really need to check yourselves. Stop feeding into the emotions. Anyways, just some stuff for you guys to think about. Talk to you later.